Voice acting. The art of finding a technically trained, multi-talented actor or Chris Pratt to provide the sounds that emerge from a character's mouth. Voice acting has come a long way, especially in gaming. For a while, everyone was just with chiptune, beep boops, and a text box.
So unrealistic.
And eventually, game developers went, wait, what if a text-to-speech voice could insult you? It already does.
You're short.
Enter Stern Electronics. In 1980, they created an arcade game called Berserk, and this was one of the first games to ever feature digitized speech. This little smiley face dude, Otto, would yell at you and try to hit you while you tried killing the robots in the room with you. As games evolved, so did the need for better voice acting, supported by advancements in the technology to do so. And I have all the respect for these actors. These guys were talented. They had to convey all this emotion and personality through often limited dialogue and sound quality. They were casted not because they were famous, but because they were good and brought the characters to life. We'll come back to that. 1981 sees the creation of the face of gaming, Casey Munchkin, who would later star in New Super Casey Munchkin Wii. Oh, and also some man that could jump. Donkey Kong itself didn't feature any voice acting, aside from maybe some DK grunt sounds, but they definitely weren't acted. They were more like burr, 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 burr. However, because consumerism, there were some commercials put out to promote it. First up in 1982, we've got this Charlie Chaplin-looking fellow, Mr. Harris Shore. His voice is a sort of evil circus ringmaster type deal.
You're not gonna stop me, you stupid ape!
I got Donkey Kong, and now I'll get you too, Junior.
For some reason, I get the vibe that he was behind the other car that hit young Sheldon's dad. Just me? In these 1983 cereal commercials, Larry Moran is behind the voice. Mario, now in an animated form, trying to force kids to eat consumerism, sort of sounds like the Mario Teaches typing voice. Yes, I know this is a bit of a spoiler for later, but shut up.
Kids, you want to help get Donkey Kong? Give me a crunch. One more.
This is truthfully where you can see a preview of Mario's future voice. He has some of the voice crack friendly, higher pitched inflection that would be seen later. This next one's extremely obscure, and I kinda want to talk a bit about it. In 1983, a company called Kid Stuff released an album that was meant to go along with the arcade game. This company produced several novelty children's albums during the 70s and 80s, many of which were inspired by popular video games and media franchises, with this being no different. Apart from the first track, Donkey Kong Goes Home narrates an original story at the start of each song, written by the composers that attempts to explain the events of the original game. Despite being officially licensed by Nintendo, the album's story drastically deviates from the Mario canon that would later be established. In this version, Mario is a pizza parlor owner, and he and his delivery girl Pauline work near a construction site that was once the town zoo, which was home to the Donkster. Back in the day, they used to deliver food to the Kong of all Kongs when he belonged there, and so suddenly when a circus featuring DK comes to town, the gorilla recognizes his old home and breaks free to interact with Pauline. He takes her and goes to the top of the construction site before Mario arrives. Donkey Kong throws barrels at him before realizing who he is when he gets to the top and stops. Mario rescues Pauline and is hailed as a hero by the town, and they agree to build Donkey Kong his own zoo on the construction site. Anyway, Mario's voice actor, Pat McBride, had a big job to do, because this wasn't just a 15-second commercial, this was an anime, a storytelling epic, and he had to do a lot more speaking.
Well, I really wasn't being a hero, because the Donkey Kong isn't really dangerous. It suggested that Donkey Kong is a homesick for the zoo. So I'm asking that the very top of the building be used as the Donkey Kong Zoo.
And yeah, he does an alright job. This was the first time Mario would ever have an Italian accent, which would remain consistent with most other portrayals. 1983 was a big year. We also got the start of the Saturday Supercade television show, which was produced by the creators of Scooby-Doo, Joe Ruby and Ken Spears, now with Ruby Spears Productions. This was a Saturday morning cartoon segment show featuring different skits with characters from the golden age of arcade games such as Frogger, Cuber, and of course, the DK crew. Not that DK crew. Yeah, them. Here, Mario was voiced by legendary voice actor Peter Cullen. Yes, Optimus Prime and Eeyore himself.
Hey, Melonhead! Come on down from there! This time you're going back to the circus!
His voice for Mario is rougher, but not overly Italian, as reflected in his design. He kinda looks like a Playmobil figure, but like, in a cartoon. Did that make sense? Something interesting to note about this is that for a while, people thought Peter Cullen was actually behind the voice of Bowser in Mario 64, as well as other games around the same time. The story went that he had recorded sound bites not for anything Mario related, but for the 1976 King Kong remake as the titular gorilla. They then reused those voice clips for Bowser's growls in Mario 64 and all those other N64 games. This, however, was found out to not be the case. Fairly recently, actually. The sounds/voices cited as being from Peter Cullen weren't actually done by him. Two even came from 1957's The Land Unknown, a movie that was released decades before Universal's King Kong, which was in 1976. But finally, we land on one of the most iconic Mario voice actors, and that would be Captain Lou Albano.
Hey, paisanos, it's the Super Mario Brothers Super Show!
Lou Albano was a professional Italian wrestler in the 1950s who adopted an arrogant, mafia-esque persona. He retired from wrestling to become a manager after receiving threats from real mafia members. Albano also notably appeared as the father figure in Cyndi Lauper's music video for Girls Just Wanna Have Fun. The role he was best known for outside of wrestling, however, was that of Mario in the Super Mario Bros. Super Show cartoon by Deke. Lou announced his casting on a 1986 episode of Regis and Kathy Lee. The show featured live-action segments which were parodies of sitcoms, with Mario and Luigi, played by Danny Wells, living in their basement workshop in Brooklyn and dealing with the quirks of running a plumbing business in the late 80s. They were frequently visited by various celebrity guest stars and often found themselves in wacky hijinks. It also featured cartoon segments based on the first and second Mario games, where they teamed up with Peach's dead name and Toad against King Koopa.
If food isn't pasta, it doesn't count. Hey! Who called this lunch break anyway?
It's clear Lou very much cared about this role. He even hired a barber to come on set and shave off his trademark goatee to give him a more Mario-like appearance. He'd make many appearances in character and costume, including for some now infamous PSAs.
I'm Captain Lou Albano talking to you about drugs. Kids, don't be afraid to say no. Anyone that asks you to use drugs is not your friend. And if you do drugs, you go to hell before you die.
And according to producer John Grust, he'd offered to legally change his name to Mario during the production of the show. Lou performed in a gruff Brooklyn accent, but still had a touch of excitement and warmth to it.
You certainly come to the right place. We'll demonstrate right now just how good we are, with absolutely no obligation.
Mario, no less by this point, wasn't a bumbling middle-aged man. He was a happy guy, so his voice was kept relatively fun and bouncy, even though it was a bit hoarse. Sadly, Lou passed away on October 14th, 2009 in Westchester County, New York, of a heart attack while residing in hospice care at 76 years old. Lou's performance as the character is still widely remembered and loved by fans. Except Nintendo. Yet they like to pretend that the Super Show just doesn't exist. They're lost. The Super Show wasn't a hit with critics, but it was a hit in terms of viewership and its ability to engage a young Mario-obsessed audience. It was popping off. This led to the creation of two follow-up series based on subsequent Mario games, those being The Adventures of Super Mario Bros. 3 and Super Mario World. These kept the same art styles, albeit even cheaper looking, but did not have Lou Albano return, as well as ditching the live-action segments. Instead, we got Walker Boone, who, fun fact, is Canadian, like me. In fact, most of the cast of these two shows are. Another dub for Deke. His voice is very similar to Lou's, but it does have its own unique flair to it. Almost like every line he's putting physical strength into. Like he's lifting something very heavy while saying every line.
Yoshi, you dinner-devouring dino brat. Leave some for the rest of us. If I wasn't sure, would I do this? Let's go!
His most famous role was Commander Lynch in Star Trek The Next Generation. Young Sheldon would have loved this. Man, two Young Sheldon references in one day. 1992 saw the release of Mario Teaches Typing, published by Interplay Productions, a game designed to teach kids all the fun letters and Q. Here he was voiced by Ronald B. Rubin, not Reagan, and like, yeah, he sure did voice act, and he sure did do an Italian guy voice.
Welcome to Mario Teaches Typing. On your mark, get set, go! Congratulations, you made it!
There isn't much to say about this one, guys. You know, I'm trying to figure out what I can say. You know what, moving on. The next year, 1993, saw the release of the infamous Super Mario Bros. Live-action film starring Bob Hoskins as the mustachioed human. Is the movie bad? Is water wet? Bob Hoskins was a legendary actor, and he did the best he possibly could with what he was given. For a realistic Mario, which, reminder, the only main games out at the time were 1 to 3, World and both lands, he did a very good job. The main reason to watch this film is to marvel at the sheer amount of time and talent that went into every part of this movie, except the script. It does feel like he was really trying to save it, even though, let's face it, he knew it was a train wreck.
Daisy, the Rock.
Considering the whole project was entirely misguided and the script was horrible, his performance is astonishing and definitely the highlight of a very bad film. He endured numerous injuries, including being stabbed 4 times, electrocuted, nearly drowned, and breaking a finger, requiring him to wear a cast for the rest of the shoot. He did, however, come to set drunk often, as did other cast members, to cope with the heavy turmoil on set. In fact, the reason Bob broke his hand was indirectly caused by him sharing scotch with John Leguizamo. In the scene with the Mario Bros van, John Leguizamo was too drunk and braked too hard, causing the door to slam on Bob's hand. What's even funnier is that Bob didn't even know what a Mario was. He didn't even know it was a video game until his kids informed him.
I didn't even know it was a game. It was my kids that told me. Well, I said, what's your next film? I'm doing Super Mario Brothers. Oh, that's the game. Oh, what? Yeah, here. And this is you. And I saw this thing jumping up and down. I thought, I used to play King Lear.
Throughout the film, he's gruff and seems genuinely angry about having to be there.
All right. Come on. Come and get it. Come on. Come on, Rufflehead, let's see what you're made of.
But despite that, his voice and portrayal of Mario stands out in a film plagued by frequent script rewrites and a troublesome directing team. Reflecting on the film after its release throughout multiple interviews, Bob openly expressed his disdain, describing it as the worst project he ever did. Did I ever tell you guys how much I like ASMR? It's divisive, I know. People think it's weird or creepy, but I can say with full confidence I fall asleep to it every night. The Mario is Missing voice actor sounds like an ASMR artist.
We're there. All I can see are turtle tracks. Luigi, what do you say we give a Bowser the old Brooklyn 1-2?
Nicholas Glazer, give me tingle! What a pesky plumber. Hey, wait, who's
Nice of the picnic to invite us over for a Princess Gay Louser.
Everyone knows what Hotel Mario is. The classic 1994 Philips CDI game with the MS Paint cutscenes and goofy-aw voice acting. Yes, I did just say that. The game had low sales, partially due to a lack of interest in the CDI system, and received mainly negative reviews. But has since then, of course, gained a cult following over time for its cutscenes, and I just gotta say, I love Mark Groh. There's just something about his performance that is so intrinsically funny to me. He's putting a lot of effort in, and he just has these funny enunciations of words.
Luigi, Bowser, Koopalings enclosed. Uh-oh, where am I? Check. Toasted. All toasters. Toast, toast. Go. No, get the hint? You playing with the doors. It's been one of those days.
Wendy's Hotel.
This is it, Luigi. We ain't afraid of no Koopas.
We're still in the area of gruff Italian voice though. A few performances have just been adding some inflection and bounce to it. So now, what if we go back in time, just for fun, to 1991? A man named Mike Fusco from a company called Sim Graphics was working on a real-time motion capture software. The system would require the actor to wear a headset rig, which transposed the actor's expression using rollerballs onto a model of a character. The system also formally required everything to be connected together, likely caused by the limits of computing power at the time. They were hoping companies would be interested for advertising purposes. Nintendo quickly took interest and contacted Sim Graphics to create a system featuring Mario based on the technology. Auditions were overseen by the producer who ran the events that the system would appear in tandem with Don James, the at the time executive vice president of operations for Nintendo of America. As the audition was ending and they were packing up their equipment, one man entered the room, uninvited, and asked if he could read for the part. This man didn't know of Mario or Nintendo, but he was gonna give it a shot. They sighed and let him in. They told him he was an Italian plumber from Brooklyn named Mario, and then they told him to start. And so he did. But as opposed to the Lou Albano style voice that every other actor did, he did something different. At first, he planned to talk like a stereotypical Italian-American with a deep, raspy voice. However, he then thought to himself that maybe it would be too harsh for children to hear, so he made it more soft-hearted and friendly. He started rambling about pizza and spaghetti and sausage. Before they called out cut, they had no more tape left. They told the man they'd be in touch, which in this man's mind meant take a hike. However, the producer was seemingly so impressed by his performance, he called Don James immediately afterwards to urge him that only this man's audition should be sent to Japan. And that man was, of course, Mr. Charles Martinet. He was flown out to South Pasadena the next day to be fitted for the system, wherein he had motion sensors attached to his face, which transposed his facial movements to a computer-generated Mario head on screen. He watched people passing by the screen through a hidden camera and talked to them as Mario.
Now how come when he does it it's cool and when I do it it's a misdemeanor?
Due to the long shifts, Stevie Coyle was hired as a voice match to take over during Charles's breaks. This was such a success that they included a form of this Mario in real time in the 1994 CD release of Mario Teaches Typing. This little funny guy would gain a lot of attention online due to just how silly he is. His voice is so friendly, and for the first time, Mario sounds genuinely excited about everything. He loves life.
Nice computer you got here.
Can I have it? Oh no! I'm a fallen, and I can't get up!
That is my impression of American advertising. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Hey, where'd everybody go? Oh, there you are. Whee! That's Amore. Get it? Amore il? I said it funny.
Now, Charles would make another game appearance in Mario's game gallery before the world would be properly introduced to him in 1996. Keep in mind, these were computer games, and not very popular ones at that, and Mario in real time was sort of exclusive to Nintendo-based events. No, the world's first introduction to Charles's voice was in Super Mario 64, with that ever so iconic,
"It's me, Mario!"
As a former theater actor, Charles has stated that the voice for Mario was based on a voice he performed for the character Gremio from the Shakespeare comedy The Taming of the Shrew. Now, Gremio was an old, friendly Italian man, so he just thought, why not make it a young Italian man? Charles's voice is perfect. There's no other way to describe it. During his time working through Mario in real time, Charles had become familiar with Mario series creator Shigeru Miyamoto. He'd been seeking a professional voice actor for Super Mario 64, and so Miyamoto had Nintendo contact Charles to inquire about voicing Mario in the game. Now, Charles was not expecting this, but he agreed immediately. He made the trip from California to Bad Animal Studio in Seattle to record for the game. Mostly unscripted, Charles was given examples by the producers of what the teams in Japan were looking for. This, combined with his improvisation, led to the creation of many of Mario's catchphrases. During the recording session, they were trying to figure out what Mario would do when the player leaves him alone.
Shuffleboarding.
In the end, Charles came up with the idea that Mario would dream of pasta during his sleep. In the final game, Mario says,
"Nighty nighty. Ah, spaghetti. Ah, ravioli. Ah, mamma mia."
And that's amazing. You know, when I sleep, I have a habit of sleep talking too, but more on that later. This Mario would be high-pitched and bright, giving Mario a youthful and energetic quality. Charles uses an exaggerated Italian accent, characterized by rolled R's, elongated vowels, and a rhythmic cadence that added a musical quality to Mario's voice. A common thing for Charles to do was to deliver phrases with a slight musicality, often emphasizing the first syllable of the phrase.
Let's go.
Waha!
Okie dokie.
Yahoo!
He would also use loads of inflection, and sometimes would slip into this funny little confused whisper, giddy sounding tone for certain words or phrases.
Okie dokie.
The voice clips used in Super Mario 64 specifically would remain iconic for their pure energy and happiness. In fact, they go on to be reused for several games, including Mario Kart 64, Mario Party 1, Super Smash Bros. 64, Mario Party 2, Super Smash Bros. Melee, Super Mario Sunshine, all the Alpha Dream Mario and Luigi games, Mario Pinball Land, the entire Mario vs. Donkey Kong series minus the new remake, Super Mario 64 DS, Mario Kart DS, New Super Mario Bros., the beta version of Galaxy 1, 3D Land, Photos with Mario, the beta version of Mario Party 10, and probably more. Also, random fun fact, Charles Martinet's website has not been updated since around 1999, and only cites the N64 games as projects that he's worked on, including newly voicing Baby Mario. It's kinda funny. Charles actually appeared in Mario 64 as two other characters, as he had previously recorded sound effects for a sound effects library. Nintendo, unbeknownst, took one of these sound effects of Charles laughing and sped them up for the boos and slowed them down for Bowser. Martinet would be the main voice of Mario for over 30 years, without any switch-ups in the casting. But by Mario Odyssey, however, some people found that Charles' voice had changed a bit. For example, he can still hit the high-pitched wahoos in the recording booth, but during live shows where he has to talk for long periods, he lowers his voice, possibly to avoid straining it, to the point where sometimes it just sounds like Charles speaking.
Oh yeah, Mamma Mia. I like to play as Luigi. Luigi's kind of fun. Oh yeah, he's really good in Smash Bros. Oh yeah, Mamma Mia. Oh, what other Mario games? You like a Mario Kart?
In the games, voice clips are well rehearsed, and only the best samples are kept, whereas at conventions, everything is on the fly and Charles is talking all day. Maintaining such a high-pitched voice is difficult after all, and strains the vocal cords, especially as he aged. At 67 years old, after 32 years of voicing Mario, it's understandable that he would need to lower his pitch to protect his vocal cords and sustain his voice for longer periods.
Whoa! Whoa! Ha ha! Ha ha! It's a me! It's a me! Yippee! Yippee! Ha ha! Ha ha! Oof! Oof! Yahoo! Yahoo! Mamma mia! Mamma mia! Hoo-hoo! Hoo-hoo!
All this to say Charles was certainly aging, as everybody does, but his Mario voice was majorly still intact. That's why it shocked the world when Nintendo dropped this little tidbit during a direct in September of 2021.
Moto-san, what brings you in?
I wanted to make an announcement, so I was hoping I could step in. The movie will be released in theaters in holiday 2022. I also wanted to reveal our key cast members, who will be voicing Mario and his friends in the movie.
What the f*** is Mario? Película del año!
So cool. Mario.
He's so cool.
Yes, movie star Chris Pratt, known for the Lego Movie and Guardians of the Galaxy, would be playing Mario. The internet was stunned, shocked, and totally confused, including me. Where was Charles? Why was he recast? Why did Illumination and Nintendo pick Chris Pratt as Mario? Well, there are a few reasons. First off, the obvious. He's a big name. For the past decade, Hollywood animated movies have been casting big-name film stars instead of traditional voice actors. This trend was kickstarted by Shrek in 2001, but to be fair, those actors, such as Mike Myers and Eddie Murphy, were well casted and played their roles well. Since then, the tide has changed, and it's purely just based on star power. Look at films like Shark Tale or Trolls that made their actors a huge part of their marketing. This movie seemed no different, with a cast full of trending and beloved actors like Jack Black, Seth Rogen, and Charlie Day. But still, why Chris Pratt as Mario? According to co-director Aaron Harvith, for us, it made total sense. He's really good at playing a blue-collar hero with a ton of heart. For the way Mario is characterized in our film, he's perfect for it. Chris Pratt was hired and did some early voice tests, but he just couldn't find the right voice yet. He'd initially made the same mistake that so many previous Mario voice actors had made. The one that Charles Martinet had avoided, of giving Mario a voice that sounded too much like a New Jersey accent. More like a Tony Soprano than Super Mario. Eventually, Chris settled on a friendlier voice for Mario, which was pretty much just his regular speaking voice with some slight Italianisms. Once the first trailer dropped, people went kinda nuts. James Whitbrook described it as Chris Pratt with a slightly racist accent. And bro thought this was okay?
Mamma mia!
Then the film came out and we got an entire glimpse of Chris Pratt's performance, and it was alright. Most people thought that Chris Pratt's Mario voice was just kinda decent. Wasn't terrible, wasn't even offensive, it actually worked.
That's a little mushroom man talking to me.
What? It's supposed to be funny. Okay, so these bricks are just floating here? So everybody saw the commercial then?
We're best friends.
But are we? Mushrooms.
Meow.
Wahoo! Destiny is calling.
What?
No!
But it just felt like Charles Martinet would have done a better job. He could have toned down his eagerness and acted with more emotion, and I think that's kind of important to point out. In the games, Mario is excited, it's an adventure with jumping and kicking, of course his emotion is super exaggerated and happy. But Charles is an actor, he knows how to convey emotion, so he would have been able to do just that. People assume this movie with Chris Pratt was just a one-off change in the regular Mario voice cast. After all, Charles did appear in the film, playing a few minor cameo roles, including one as Mario and Luigi's father. But when Charles said the line,
"These are my boys!" Hey!
no one except him and Nintendo knew it would be the last line he would ever record for a Mario project. And those really were his boys, Luigi and especially Mario, because he was what brought them to life. Anyone and everyone knows what Mario sounds like. Young or old, gamer or not, they all recognize the "it's-a-me." The excitement was buzzing on June 21st, 2023, when Nintendo revealed their newest Mario game, Super Mario Bros. Wonder. And if you listen really closely to Mario's voice from the trailer, there was Mario, yeah, but something seemed off. Just a little something. And people definitely took note of this. Then, on a cloudy day in August, Nintendo made a surprising announcement on their Twitter account in tandem with a Nintendo Direct. Charles Martinet would be stepping down from his role as the voice of Mario, 3 decades after his original audition. The company revealed that Charles would take on the new role of Mario Ambassador, traveling the world to meet and greet thousands of Mario fans. The news was a massive shock to everyone. For millions, Charles Martinet's voice was synonymous with Mario. People honored his legacy all over the internet, such as sharing art pieces, memories, tributes, fan works, all to show love to the man who voiced their childhoods. While at the Canada Fan Expo in 2021, Charles declared in an interview, "I want to voice Mario until I drop dead." So why the sudden change? Charles, who was at the time 67, has been, as mentioned previously, doing it for a long time. However, all voices do indeed change over time. It's possible that maybe Charles and Nintendo decided to try and find a successor before his voice showed signs of aging. Let's take that quote from earlier and keep it going. "I want to voice Mario until I drop dead. If someday I think I am no longer capable of doing it, I'll tell Nintendo to look into finding someone else." That might be the clue that he and Nintendo were preparing for the inevitable transition, but that left us with a big question. Who was Mario now?
Who cares?
On October 12, 2023, Nintendo issued a statement revealing the new Mario voice actor would be Kevin Afghani, a young, relatively new voice actor who had previously voiced a character from Genshin Impact, as well as a few other smaller roles. This guy had some big shoes to fill, and did he pull it off? Yeah, I definitely have the unpopular opinion, but I do not like Kevin's voice for Mario. This is nothing against him. He seems like a wonderful person and is proud to be representing Nintendo, but he's just not Charles, and I'm sorry. I've tried to make peace with it, I've tried to accept it, but I just can't! Sometimes, he truthfully doesn't sound too bad.
Okie dokie!
But sometimes, he sounds like a teenage boy going through puberty.
Oh yeah, Mario time!
Like, was there not a better take available? I've been hearing Mario's voice since I was a child. My earliest memories are playing The Sim Wii at home with my dad. I have an emotional attachment to this voice, so I'm not doing well with this change. Kevin can imitate Mario and the others, but his impressions often break when he has to talk or when he raises his voice, which he loves to do lots. It's clear that his vocal range is somewhat limited, which leads to his performance sounding inauthentic, sometimes like Mickey Mouse. Charles could perform the voice effortlessly in any situation since it was his natural voice that he created, that he had pretty much perfected since day one. I want to like Kevin's voice, I really do. He seems like a genuinely awesome guy. Like apparently he wore a Mario costume for his prom. Like I want to like his performance, he seems like such a nice guy. And granted, not all of his voice clips are awful. Some are almost there. His jumps and grunts are pretty good. What I am not the hugest fan of is Nintendo trying to seemingly get Charles out of the picture. For example, in November of 2023, we got the release of WarioWare Move It, which has a micro game inspired by Super Mario 64 DS. Everything seems all fine and dandy until you realize those iconic Mario 64 sound bites, gone. Re-recorded. They sound extremely uncanny, especially because of how engraved those original clips are into all of our minds. The scream isn't bad, albeit off-putting. But the here we go is...
Here we go!
Yeah. This is supposed to be a remaster of an old game, a representation of that old game. Why not just reuse the OG voice clips? This isn't even a Super Mario game. Charles Martinet himself has said he doesn't know what a Mario Ambassador is, or what that means for him. Is it possible Nintendo just wanted to get Charles out of the picture and get a new voice actor that they can pay less? It's possible, but we can't say that for sure, of course. Don't sue me! I really hope Kevin can grow into the role, especially with newer upcoming titles like Mario and Luigi Brothership. Practice does make perfect after all, and hopefully he'll be able to brush up on his voice. But I know for me personally, Mario will forever be Charles Martinet, and all the others are just voice actors. Talented ones, absolutely, but voice actors nonetheless. The voice of the plumber has come a long way since its early days. We've seen how Mario's voice evolved from the gruff tones of Peter Cullen and Lou Albano to the iconic high-pitched energy of Charles Martinet. Every actor has brought something unique to Mario, shaping him into the beloved character we know today. The Mario characters have had an interesting history with designs. Let's start all the way back at the beginning with Donkey Kong. Now, early designs weren't very established, and Mario basically looked like just some random Italian guy. DK looked okay, but again, just a generic monkey. Now, Pauline...
Oh my god, I'm sorry, man.
Like I said, nothing was very established. And you know what else wasn't? That's right! Video game copyright laws. Back in the 80s, video games were still relatively new, so there wasn't a lot of copyright laws put in place to protect certain characters or game ideas. So we got a lot of this. Buddy, are you okay? But the funny thing is that as time went on with the arcade era of Mario, his in-game designs were fairly consistent, such as Donkey Kong Jr. and Mario Bros. Being very similar to his original design. However, his out-of-game designs, or just whatever the designer felt like that day, we had cartoonish designs, we had the weird Italian guy design where Mario looks like a Popeye villain, this one that was used on the Intellivision ports, and the CBS design, which is just... why? But then, everything would change in 1985 when we got the most amazing game to ever surface on this earth. The packing game for the NES that we all know and love, Duck Hunt! Now in Duck Hunt, the dog that grabs the ducks that you shoot is actually Mario in disguise, who is really just Luigi. Nah, I'm just kidding. We're of course talking about the original Super Mario Bros. In terms of in-game designs, he looked pretty similar to his previous sprites, except someone spilled some coffee on him and it ended up staining. This was the first introduction of the Super Mushroom, where Mario could either be small or big. So looking back with this previous knowledge, I think Mario from Donkey Kong and DK Jr. are small Mario, and Mario from Mario Bros. Has a mushroom. This could mean that before Mario knew about the Mushroom Kingdom back in the DK days, he was just a short guy. I can relate. And then because in Mario Bros. There's Koopa Troopas and the enemies from the Mushroom Kingdom invading the real world, who's to say a mushroom or two didn't come through one of the pipes and Mario and Luigi didn't take one? Oh, and speaking of which, Luigi was first introduced in Mario Bros. And he was just Mario, but different. Sometimes he was green, sometimes he was white, sometimes he sounded like a salesman.
Hello, Mario.
But that's just in terms of in-game sprites. The way he was portrayed was a lot closer to modern Mario. However, everyone else just wasn't. The mushroom looked like a drug, Hammer Bros looked like a rip-off Popeye, Peach was blonde in the artwork but blonde in the game, and Bowser... Look, I don't even know what's wrong with Bowser. Bowser has always had an inconsistent design, even in the present, which we'll get into more later, but in this era, sometimes he was blue, sometimes he was yellow, sometimes he had a cape, sometimes he was even bald. Ah! The artwork was the last thing on the team's mind when creating Super Mario Bros., so Miyamoto drew the game's art nearing the end of development. However, Miyamoto wasn't satisfied with the art and sought out an artist to redesign the Mario cast, and that man was Yoichi Katabe. He redesigned many enemies and Peach, but the most drastic change was Bowser, who went from being some kind of ox to a turtle dragon. This style was most famously used in Super Mario Bros. 3, and this style would remain omnipresent until this day. But back to the late 80s, Luigi was wearing green, Toad was the way he would always stay, Peach was still swapping between blonde and brunette, and Mario was finally using both red and blue. This would follow into Super Mario Bros. 3, where Mario would finally have all the design attributes we know him to have. On the cover. Yeah, they made his overalls black in the game for some reason, and that's why I don't like Mario 3. But then the SNES was released, and alongside it, Super Mario World. And even though this isn't my favorite game in the world, it was the first time Mario had a consistent design both in-game and outside. Red hat and shirt, blue overalls, brown shoes, white gloves. Things were finally coming up sweet, like apples. Speaking of apples, we were introduced to a new apple-eating, flutter-jumping sidekick being Yoshi. At first, Yoshi used to be a dragon, as shown by dragon coins having Yoshi's face on them. However, Yoshi eventually became a dinosaur. He used to have a much more pronounced tail and looked a lot more reptile-like, but as we all know, he became more circular over time. I'm getting ahead of myself. Back to where we were. Super Mario World was released, and so was Super Mario Land, which introduced Princess Daisy. She was basically just a peach with orange hair and a yellow dress. Then, Super Mario Land 2 6 Golden Coins was released, and with that, the debut of Wario, Mario's rival, and basically just an overweight Mario with a yellow and pink color scheme, which eventually turned purple for some reason. At this point, Mario was a very popular series with its core cast of characters: Mario, Luigi, Peach, Toad, Yoshi, Bowser, Daisy, and Wario, with Donkey Kong and DK Jr. still kicking around. And this is how things would stay for the Mario—
Hello! There's more?
With the Nintendo 64 being Nintendo's first 3D console, they needed to convert Mario and his pals into none other than 3D, of course, and they sure did do that. I always loved Mario's N64 design. It's super charming, and I feel weirdly nostalgic even though I'm the same age as New Super Mario Bros. That being said, everyone else looked, a bit off. Peach, Yoshi, Toad, Koopa Troopa, and Wario all crossed into the uncanny valley. Now, because we were on a more powerful console, this could allow for something super important to Mario's design: his voice.
It's me, Mario!
I'm not going to delve too far into this, as this could be its own video, but Mario used to have a couple inconsistent voices outside of the video games, such as in the cartoons.
Exactly right, Luigi. And what do plumbers do best? Next to fixing pipes.
However, he never had a voice inside the games. That's when Mr. Charles Martinet landed the role of Mario and would first appear in some Mario Pinball Machine, but most famously in Super Mario 64. Martinet would go on to voice many other characters, including Luigi, Wario, Waluigi, Baby Mario, Baby Luigi, Goombas, Thwomps, Womps, Monty Mole, Boos, Drybones, King Boo, and many others. His iconic performance has remained a big part of Mario's design, and I can't imagine Mario being played by anyone else. Not by anyone else.
It's me, a Mario.
Look, I don't want to say Chris Pratt will do a bad job. I'm a big fan of him and his work in Guardians of the Galaxy, Jurassic World, the Lego Movie. This isn't really about him. I'm just so confused as why they didn't have Charles Martinet do the voice. Mario has a distinct voice, and I'm not sure how Pratt will be able to replicate it. It could just sound like his voice, like in this Instagram post. Or they can go the opposite route and have him do an Italian accent, which would also probably not be very good either. But like I said, this is a topic for next time. Back to where we were. Super Mario 64, Mario Kart 64, Mario Golf, Party, Tennis, Smash Bros. Had all similar designs. Now let's completely forget about him. This is where the Mario series would start to round out its edges and by extensions, its designs. At this point, in-game designs were practically identical to the out-of-game ones, with the promotional designs having higher poly models and better lighting, but still similar. The GameCube launched with not a Mario game, but a Luigi game. Luigi's Mansion gave us a first look at the new designs, and while I always found Luigi looked a little bit strange, this model will become the default base Mario design. Thankfully, they got their stuff together in Super Mario Sunshine and Mario Party 4. These models certainly have their charm, but I don't know, the shadowing looks super dark and not very appealing. I get they were trying to go for more realistic proportions and designs, but I don't know, it's a bit much in my opinion. These models lasted a while, from 2001 to around 2006. However, we're not going to move on just yet because there's one turtle dragon in the room that needs to be addressed. Bowser. Bowser went through some identity crises, man. It has less to do with his design, even though that was pretty shaky early on, but it's more so his voice. Bowser used to use edited stock sound effects for the N64 era games. That is until this weird flipping game came around and gave him a voice.
Mario! How dare you disturb my family vacation?
In this game, he was voiced by Scott Burns, and no offense to him, I'm sure he's a great guy, but it just doesn't work! I don't know what to say, it's so bad. The weird Uncle Hank voice is too goofy for Bowser, and that's saying a lot for a game about a plumber fighting a turtle. Then, in the Wii era, Kenny James took over the role, and he just sounds like a deep-voiced goofy monster. Which I love.
Man, Bowser went through puberty 3 times. That's double what I went through. You know what, I should move on. Like I said earlier, most of the Mario cast was redesigned to the way we know them today. Everything else, such as locations, items, and other characters, would have to wait for their turn to be revamped, and they would get the chance in 2006 with the release of New Super Mario Bros. All the items, objects, enemies, platforms, basically anything that's not a character, was given a new design that are still used today. Do you know how many times I've seen these over a decade-old renders still? A lot. After this point, the Mario characters would remain in the same designs for a while. Galaxy, New Soup Wii, Mario Kart Wii, Super Sluggers, Mario Party 7 and 8, Galaxy 2, all these games had the same designs with no changes. The designs didn't change too drastically, but there were indeed some differences. For instance, compare this render from Mario Party 8 and this render from New Soup 2. The newer one just looks better, cleaner, and brighter. In this period, they would use these newer renders while also using older ones. And I touched on this a bit in the opening joke, but ever since this era until now, Nintendo and companies will use different era renders in the same image. It's mainly things like decorations, posters, can of soup that misuse these renders. However, Nintendo has even committed this crime. For example, let's take one of their worst pieces of media, Mario Tennis Ultra Smash, and look at the character select screen. How do you mess up this badly? It is so obvious this was thrown together quickly to get the game done. Why are there decade-old renders like Waluigi, Peach, and Toad mixed with the new renders like Yoshi, Toadette, and the Sprixie? Like, do people not realize this? This game itself had unique renders. Why not use them? Why use this weird mismatch of renders? Mixing up renders is one of the worst things you can do. Maybe murder, but I haven't looked into it. Where were we again? Oh yeah, for a while renders looked the same, no changes, until one game would release that would change Mario designs forever. And that game was Super Mario 3D World. My god, this game's designs are beautiful. I don't know how to describe it. The shininess, the exaggerated facial expressions, the bright colors, they look amazing. This would continue into Mario Kart 8 and Mario Party 10, which regardless of the game quality, produced amazing render after amazing render. All the main cast, Mario, Luigi, Peach, Toad, Yoshi, Bowser, Rosalina, the enemies, everybody, they all look so good. Compare this render from New Soup DS and this one from Mario Party 10. Do you people see the glow up? Mario Maker, Ultra Smash, at least the renders they did make, Mario Party Star Rush, Super Mario Run, the one that no one remembers, 8 Deluxe, would all keep the same render style, and things could not get any better in terms of designs. Okay, let's talk about Odyssey. Listen, I love Odyssey and its Mario design, and I don't just mean Cappy. The denim overalls, each individual hair on his face, the shoes, gloves, everything looks amazing. Same with Luigi. I also really love the bow tie, but that's not important. These are amazing designs, and this would be the definitive Mario design if it was consistent. Odyssey and Super Mario Party use this more realistic style, but then New Super U Deluxe, Mario Party The Top 100, Tennis Aces, Mario Maker 2, they all use a more simplified design. And while it looks great, and I honestly prefer it to the Odyssey design, it's just not consistent. Pick one, Nintendo, please. Don't pull at our heartstrings like this. We have a little more inconsistency with the Mario Kart Live Home Circuit and the upcoming Mario Party Superstars using the Odyssey design, and Mario Talk at the 2020 Olympic Games, Mario Kart Tour, and Bowser's Fury using the simplified design. But overall, Mario and his friends are looking better than ever. Even though they've changed designs, I think it's safe to say the Mario cast was and always will be some of the best characters to come out of not just gaming, but pop culture as a whole. And I can't wait to see what becomes of them as time goes on. Toad's original Japanese name, Pinocchio, was most likely derived from the fairy tale creature Pinocchio. This is even more evidence as how in Super Mario Galaxy, Toad's texture files are labeled as Pinocchio. Even though the spelling is different, it is still pronounced the same. In a 1989 metal TV tray released under the first game's merchandise, a scene of what appears to be Mario and Luigi's home is shown. There's a portrait on the wall which features a man who looks like Mario but has gray hair and is dressed in blue overalls while smoking a pipe. This is most likely Mario and Luigi's father. In Super Mario Bros., if any moving platform scrolls off screen so that less than 8 pixels of it remain, it's no longer displayed despite still being loaded. Standing on such a platform causes Mario to appear to float. In Super Mario 64, placing a crate down near a slope of a specific angle and then performing a ground pound on it kills Mario instantly. A 1994 French documentary on Nintendo showed concept art for Super Mario Bros. Containing a sprite of Thinking Mario, which was never used in the final game. Can we make like Thinking Mario a meme? Like instead of that weird spinning guy, it's like Mario thinking. Could we make? Okay, bye. During a Satellaview broadcast of Super Mario Bros. 3, a sample of Rick Astley's Never Gonna Give You Up can be heard in the background.
その辺で壁にボコッとか穴開けながら来てくれると楽しいんだけどな。
So Nintendo just basically rickrolled us before rickrolling was a thing. A 1995 official Mario quiz card featured an Inca sun in a Mario style. By coincidence, it looks similar to the Shine sprites from Super Mario Sunshine, which appeared 7 years later. In Super Mario World, Yoshi can begin eating a berry during Mario's death animation. However, the game is unable to handle both Yoshi's eating animation and the death animation at the same time, so it simply freezes instead. This 1982 Jumpman/Mario doll, which has a copyright date of 1978, is the licensed Mario product with the earliest copyright date. This should be impossible given that Shigeru Miyamoto only created Mario in 1981. It can be assumed the company Ito repurposed tags from an existing product. When Mario stomps an enemy in Hotel Mario, a peace symbol appears. The symbol, however, is so faint and disappears so quickly that it's nearly impossible to see without isolating a frame and drastically increasing the contrast. In Super Mario Bros. 3, the world map for Giant Land/World 4 is seemingly in the shape of a Koopa Troopa. The Nintendo E3 2007 press kit contained a document with instructions for the press on how to properly display this piece of Super Mario Galaxy artwork. Due to Wario's irises being small, his eye color appears to be black from a distance and has been depicted as such before. However, more modern renders and textures are now detailed enough to reveal that he actually has blue eyes, like Mario. The files of Mario Kart Arcade GP include this unused strange Toad model. In the files, he's not located within the racers or stage elements, but rather in the items section, implying he was going to be a usable item. In Super Mario Odyssey, the waterfall in the Cascade Kingdom has a spot where the water refraction effect is applied incorrectly, leading to distorted images of Mario to appear next to him, visible in snapshot mode. In Super Mario Bros. 3, Statue Mario dies when touching a level boundary, which is possible by sliding into it from a slope. In the international version of Mario Party 2, the ending to Western Land has Bowser and the winning characters shoot corks at each other from toy guns. However, in the original Japanese version, they appear to shoot each other with actual bullets fired from real guns. Nintendo of America's internal guide for Nintendo DS graphics programming includes some odd Mario-related example images that mix a lot of graphical styles. Mario Kart Arcade GP2 contains unused functionality to display low polygon versions of drivers if they are far away from the camera, similar to Mario 64. If it's enabled, drivers turn into low quality versions of themselves, except for Waluigi, who for some reason turns into a low quality version of Mario instead. In the Mario Party 4 minigame Order Up, a poster with the name Pinocchio Burger and a picture of Toad can be seen on the right wall. As mentioned previously, Pinocchio is Toad's Japanese name, which is odd as to why this poster is in the international releases of the game. Super Mario Galaxy was the first Mario game to be officially localized in French for the province of Quebec. This is because Nintendo got themselves into a minor controversy regarding dialogue. Characters like Toad use a generic Joie dialect as opposed to male and female pronouns. This was changed by Nintendo in a smart move as the Quebec market makes up 25% of sales for Nintendo Canada at the time. While usually Nintendo game commercials in the Netherlands are simply dubbed versions of other European commercials, Super Mario Land 2 received a unique Dutch version with brief shots of a live-action Wario using distorted camera effects. In the code of Super Mario Maker, names for 5 unused costume Mario transformations remain. These are Golden Retreat, which is most likely the Nintendog, Mario US, which is most likely the Mario 2 sprite, a Muncher, Tetris Block, and surprisingly the Windows logo. Pauline is the only major Mario series character to have 2 different sets of proportions in modern games. A tall one used in Super Mario Odyssey and Smash Ultimate, and a short one used everywhere else. And finally, a week before the release of New Super Mario Bros. Wii, a man by the name of James Burt pirated the game and released it online early. Nintendo of Australia used their in-house tools to identify Burt for the piracy, and then obtained a court order to search his house. Nintendo took him to court and won, with Bert owing the company 1.5 million Australian dollars. It just goes to show how much New Super Mario Bros. Wii means to people. Over time, some things just haven't lined up with fans. Whether that be unintentionally scary moments or things just so unknown we have to theorize about them. And have the fans ever done that? And I've picked a couple to dive into, so let's get started. We'll start off simple with one of the most famous rumors. In the Super Mario Bros. Manual, it says that the toads were turned into mere stones, bricks, and horse plants. And what do we see a lot of in the Mushroom Kingdom? Oh yeah, bricks. So this would theoretically mean that every time Mario breaks a brick, he's killing a toad, making him a serial killer. I mean, this is absolutely bonkers, but it does make sense. Do I think this is true? Absolutely, positively, gosh no. This was a simple story mostly made up after the game was finished and then wasn't followed up with any other game or storyline. But hey, it's always fun to kill a toad. Another famous rumor for the original Super Mario Bros. Is what's behind the flagpole. I mean, you can't even get over the flagpole, so how would you figure this out? Surprisingly, you actually can get over the flagpole. In levels 3-3, you can just simply use the elevator to jump over it. However, in level 1-1, it requires a complex glitch about jumping on a Koopa, and then it gets stuck in the floor and in the ceiling, and then you have to jump on it to get over the flag. And yeah, there's nothing beyond the flag. If you use a code to disable the timer, some sprites become jumbled, but that's it. In terms of story, the castle at the end of each level is supposed to be the same castle at the beginning of the level after that. Yeah, it's a little confusing, and I didn't even realize that until I noticed. Yeah, I'm dumb, I'm sorry. Here's one I don't hear getting talked about a lot. How do Birdo and Shy Guy exist in the main series if Super Mario Bros. 2 was a dream? How do they exist? I've heard some people say that there was some Satellaview thing where Subcom was actually real, but is that canon? Nintendo doesn't seem to regard it as part of the story. Oh, and speaking of Shy Guy, he's hiding a secret. What is under his mask? Due to their timidness, Shy Guys almost always wear masks, leaving the appearance of their face unknown. In a cutscene from Mario Power Tennis, Shy Guy trips on a stair step, causing his mask to fall off. Its unmasked appearance is not seen on camera, but Luigi is frightened by it. This supports the notion that Shy Guy's mask hides a dark secret. We can't just simply take his model and remove his mask because nothing is modeled, it's just a flat texture. Does that mean there's nothing under the mask? Of course not, it's just Nintendo saving resources. However, Luigi's Mansion introduced enemies known as Ghost Guys, which are probably a subspecies of Shy Guys. A Ghost Guy must have its mask removed before it can be defeated, so players can easily see their face, which is 2 yellow eyes in a field of black, and a separate hole in the robe for their mouth. However, it's unknown how closely related Shy Guys and Ghost Guys are, so it's not certain this is how Shy Guys look without masks. Ghost Guys also have several other minor differences in appearance from Shy Guys, so their faces could also differ. Also, if the field of black is meant to represent an intense shadow as opposed to a void within the robe, then the appearance of the surface of a Ghost Guy's face is still unknown. There are many enemies in the Mario franchise with their eyes set within a black void, but whether this is the case for Ghost Guy is not clear. On the other side of the coin, in Mario Striker's Charge, Shy Guy's mask is shown to be able to emote like a face. Even though the expression only changes while it's angled away from the camera, Shy Guy is not shown replacing the mask to do so. A potential contradiction in this theory is that Shy Guy's masks are usually portrayed as removable, much more consistently than the one-off scene from Mario Striker's Charge. However, characters with detachable body parts are hardly a novel concept, so it isn't out of the question for the mask to still be its face. Another rumor that was proven to be true was that Mario 3 was a stage play. Due to the bolted platforms, curtains rising, and exiting a level by running off of it to a dark area, similar to running backstage. This was confirmed in a video called Mario Myths with Mr. Miyamoto by Shigeru Miyamoto in the lead up to Super Mario Maker. Now, Super Mario 64... Ow! Oh! 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 Okay. There's a lot to cover here. We'll go through it. Okay. Oh my God. Okay, now you're just being hurtful. Oh, hi. I didn't see you there. And welcome to Humor That Rumor, a spin-off of Critique That Leak. I'm your host, Tyson, and let's humor some rumors. Princess Peach is trapped in the glass painting. Honestly, it makes a lot of sense, as when she appears in the final cutscene, it's in front of the painting. Also, there is some definite space between the outside and inside of the painting, implying there's a room there. I'd like to think this was intended, so no humor for this rumor. A Ninja Mario power-up hidden in the game after getting all 120 stars. This would make such little sense. I mean, never mind how stupid Ninja Mario sounds, but getting 120 stars in Mario 64 is a very simple task, and there's nothing when you beat it. I don't know how people believe this one. The Wario apparition. Look, you all know what the Wario apparition is. It was really popular when icebergs were big. Basically, it's a giant Wario head in front of the Dire Dire Docks entrance who would chase you down before something spooky would happen. Like your game would crash, your house would catch on fire, 666 would be engraved in your... it's just a creepypasta. But to discuss this properly, we have to talk about every copy of Mario 64 is personalized. Back in June 2020, the Mario Iceberg video by Mishcause hit it big and made everyone rethink this classic game. The bottom entry was every copy of Mario 64 is personalized, and that made everybody go, what the hell? This theory posed that there's something in the code of Super Mario 64 that would personalize it to you and your playstyle. Say you're an inexperienced player not progressing very well, the game would remove certain hard obstacles. But that's just a simple examples. Personalized copies can supposedly change assets, add back and remove beta content, new characters, create new objects, and can also possess people or something, I don't know. It's kinda hard to believe, but it honestly resulted in some really cool videos in ARGs. Many of this rumors, such as the Wario apparition, Blarg, the Bowser room, these gosh darn penguins, and many more are classed under this, so I won't talk about them anymore. L is real 2401. Alright, let's talk about Luigi. Super Mario 64 was originally going to be a two-player game, with Mario and Luigi as playable characters, but the system's capability at the time prevented that from happening and Luigi was taken out of the game. In the castle courtyard, there's a statue that depicts a giant star with a blurry inscription below it. Although it's hard to read, the text on the inscription can be interpreted as either Eternal Star or L is real 2401, depending on the player's viewing angle. While Eternal Star makes much more sense considering the star directly above the inscription, people quickly latched on to the whole L is real idea. People thought that L stood for Luigi and therefore Luigi would have been in the game. One theory was that 2401 represented every coin in each level of the game, and that by collecting them all, the player would have to come back to the statue where Luigi would then emerge as a playable character. While there were many theories as to what the inscription could have meant besides the one above, the most popular and logical theory was that it was a reference to Paper Mario. The game was released in America on February 5th, 2001, 2501, very close to the date written on the inscription, 2401, and Luigi was in that game. There's some unintelligible text under the message that some reads as in Paper M, although at the time Paper Mario was known as Super Mario RPG 2, which might debunk this theory. Ironically, on July 25th, 2020, 24 years and 1 month after the release of the game, the source code for Super Mario 64 was leaked, which included an unused model of Luigi, confirming its existence, thus completing the prophecy. There's a theory that's been going around about the true intentions of Professor Egad that is honestly super interesting. First introduced in Luigi's Mansion, Egad was the charming inventor who created all of Luigi's gadgets. However, it goes much deeper than that. In Super Mario Sunshine, Bowser Jr. is revealed to have been causing all the mayhem in Delfino Plaza. When asked where he got his magic paintbrush from, he says, "A strange old man in a white coat gave it to me. That old man is Egad." Also, his logo is on the paintbrush. Notice how he said that he gave it to him.
A strange old man in a white coat gave it to me. A strange old man in a white coat.
Not that he stole it or I bought it, he gave it to him. If we're to assume these games have timelines, Egad knows the Mario Bros by this point and would know that the Koopas are evil. But it doesn't just end there. In Mario Kart Arcade GP, you have to race against a Robo Mario. And who made him? We can see the trademark of our swirly-haired friend on his cap. But that's not it. Look no further than Mario Party 7, when if you look really closely you'll find his logo on 2 more items. The first is the Vacuum Orb, which makes sense considering he's the guy responsible for creating the Poltergeist series that helps Luigi clean out haunted mansions. What makes considerably less sense is that Egad designed this item for Wario and Waluigi. The Vacuum Orb is an item specifically used to steal coins from other players, and it's designed to only be used by the anti-characters in that game. The other item a GAD logo appears on is the wand inside the magic orb, an item that grants invisibility to the user, an item that can only be used by, drumroll please, Boo and dry bones. In the entirety of Mario Party 7, the only items bearing the GAD logo are designed to help the villains. So GAD pretends like he wants to help, but he's secretly undermining things from the shadows for his own benefit. He sells the bad guys his procs and then sells his procs to the good guys to stop the bad guys. While we're talking about EGAD, let's talk about Luigi's Mansion. In the telephone room in the 4th area of the game, when Luigi receives a phone call from Professor EGAD, lightning will strike, illuminating the room and projecting Luigi's shadow on the wall. From a certain perspective, the shadow closely resembles that of a hanging body, implying that Luigi had committed suicide. Some say this shadow is merely a glitch caused by abnormal camera angles combined with the lighting effect, but nothing has been confirmed. If Luigi in Mario 64 was the poster child for gaming rumors in the late 90s, then Waluigi in Mario 64 DS was the poster child for rumors in the late 2000s. I personally remember a lot about this stuff from when I was younger, and it's actually really nostalgic. In 2005, DeviantArt user King Bowser Koopa posted an image scan of an article titled Purple Prizes and named the submission Waluigi in Super Mario 64 DS. The article suggests that Waluigi can be unlocked in the game and provides hints toward unlocking him, ultimately sending the player on a wild goose chase. Find all the stars and be the fastest foot racer in the land. Afterward, a secret switch will reveal my door. All that remains is a challenge from the Rabbit King for its key. Many sources claim that this was the article featured on an IGN or an issue of Nintendo Power. The article features a custom 3D model of Waluigi placed in various game locations, such as Bob-omb Battlefield, Cool Cool Mountain, and the Castle Grounds. According to this article, Waluigi had springy jumps that were leaps ahead of the competition, and his Power Flower transformation would have been the fast-moving Warp Speed Waluigi. Players interpreted this article's vague hints in various ways to try to unlock Waluigi, to no avail. 2 days after posting the image, King Bowser Koopa revealed that the image was an April Fool's joke. However, people still seem to think that Waluigi was in the game. People tried a bunch of ways to unlock him, to no use. No, he's not in the game at all. I promise. On December 9, 2007, a video showcasing a downloadable Nintendo DS version of Super Mario Galaxy was uploaded to YouTube. The footage showed a hidden galaxy unlocked by collecting all 121 Power Stars as both Mario and Luigi and feeding them all to a hungry Luma, which would allow the player to access the Nintendo DS version of the game using the download play feature. The player used the stylus to control Mario, and both brothers were shown in the game's galaxies simultaneously, implying a co-op mode. The video also stated that each Power Star collected in the Nintendo DS version would be redeemable for 10 Wii points on the Wii Shop channel. Yeah, okay, Nintendo being pro-consumer? Is it April Fool's Day? About 10 days after the video's release, an article on Engadget proved the footage to be faked by discovering a shorter but cleaner version of the same video on the video site Stage 6. The video is posted by Psycho Threeler, the username of Mr. Pablo Belmonte, who has made numerous hoaxes in the past. Belmonte himself will later upload a high-quality version of the video, explaining in the description that it was created for a school project involving designing a viral video. And he only got a B. Let's talk about Shiverburn Galaxy. You all knew this was coming. In Super Mario Galaxy, players can enter at any point in first person or look up into the background. Visible on the top of the mountainous landscape that makes up the skybox are 3 strange figures. A tall figure standing next to a shorter one and another short figure a short distance away. A 4th one is present and right next to the 3rd, though hidden by the textures of the canyon's edge. These figures are visible from any point in the level, but they never move and can never be interacted with. Not only that, but no other characters acknowledge their presence. They appear as large, lanky black creatures with creepy hole-like eyes. Some have long arms, some don't, and their height also appears to vary. They are also far larger than the player character as shown by Swankybox in this video. Why they are just creepily observing you is unknown. They've been theorized to be many things, but the most believable theory is that they are Kodama, tree spirits from Japanese folklore that very much resemble the Hell Valley sky trees. In Shy Guy Jungle and Paper Mario Sticker Star, Mario must clear a large pile of garbage to progress. However, before doing so, the player can interact with the trash to read messages left there. Among various pieces of other text and Easter eggs is the serial key XD3RB8HH9ZR2-5L16. It is unknown what, if anything, this key activates. A popular assumption is that the serial key is thought to be for a proprietary service. The key isn't for Club Nintendo or Nintendo eShop. Sometime after the release of Mario Tennis Open on May 20th, 2012, an Nindori magazine skin appeared on Japanese websites depicting Rosalina's head edited over the QR code used to unlock Black Yoshi in the game, despite Rosalina not actually appearing in Mario Tennis Open. On October 13th, 2020, YouTube user Joey Paroloni uploaded a video titled Mario Party DS Anti-Piracy Screen, showcasing what appears to be a piracy detection features in Mario Party DS. In the video, the minigame Cherry Garon is played normally until an error message appears stating that the pirated copy of the game is being played. The game then cuts to the anti-piracy screen. On the bottom screen, an image taken from a story cutscene where Mario and friends are trapped in a cage is used, meant to evoke a prison cell in the video. The phrase "piracy is no party" and a message about video game piracy are displayed on the top screen as ominous music plays. While both videos became very popular, with both acquiring at least 500,000 views on YouTube, there is no evidence in the game files that this screen, music, or any anti-piracy measure exists in the game. After the success of the first video, Joey Paroloni would continue to post several other videos showing additional supposed anti-piracy measures in Mario Party DS. On December 21st, 2020, the Cutting Room Floor's Mario Party DS page was protected due to vandalism related to the hoax. Several other YouTube creators have since uploaded similar videos showing fabricated anti-piracy measures on many other Nintendo games and third-party games. In June 2016, shortly after Mario Party Star Rush was announced during E3 2016, a post on Twitter was made joking about Nintendo reusing art from cans of Campbell's SpaghettiOs. The temporary cover art on the game appeared to be based on artwork used on cans from a Super Mario promotion between Campbell's and Nintendo. This post quickly gained popularity and was shared by several popular gaming websites, giving off the impression that the artwork was taken directly from the can. However, the original artwork used on the can is simply stock promotional artwork. Before the announcement of Nintendo's collaboration with Campbell's in late November 2013, the art had made many prior appearances. It was used on a standee and banner images used on gaming news websites advertising the Nintendo Experience, an event where customers can access playable demo versions of Wii U games. The art has also been used on the official Super Mario Bros. 2013 wall calendar, which was released on October 1st, 2012, a set of 3 Nintendo eShop gift cards, and on the North American, the UK, and the Italian versions of Nintendo's child-oriented websites. And finally, the biggest mystery of them all.
Super Mario Run. It's listed on the Mario website as a mainline entry.
Okay.
Oh, where do we even begin with the tale of Super Mario Run? Developed jointly by Nintendo and DNA, this was the first game that Shigeru Miyamoto, yes, the Miyamoto, had his hands on since 2007's Super Mario Galaxy. Now, I want you to cast your minds back to the early 2010s. Nintendo was a bit of a stubborn child, unwilling to share its precious characters with the grubby hands of the mobile gaming market. Satoru Iwata, may he rest in peace, was afraid that they'd lose their identity, that they'd cease to be Nintendo. But, as fate would have it, 2014 wasn't a good year for our dear friends at Nintendo. They were losing money faster than Aiden loses followers every time he posts a selfie. So they made a bold decision to dive headfirst into the mobile market. The story of Super Mario Run is born out of speedrunners. The folks at Nintendo noticed these adrenaline junkies racing through Mario games without letting go of the right side of the D-pad. Thus, the idea of Mario sprinting like a caffeinated squirrel was born. Then came the moment we had all been waiting for, the release. Announced at Apple's annual iPhone event in 2016 by none other than Miyamoto himself, the game launched on iOS first and then Android. It's basically a Mario Goes parkour scenario, but let's break down the mechanics. Mario bolts through the level like a plumber late for a job, and you're in charge of timing the jumps. That's it. You tap, Mario jumps. You tap and hold, he jumps higher. You swipe left midair, and he stalls. If he hits a wall, he just slides down and jumps off in the opposite direction. Onto the levels. We've got 24 of these bad boys, and the layout and art style being a throwback to one of the best video games of all time.
Oh, wait, that's not right. Oh, it's just the same you. What an imposter.
Where was I? Oh yeah, only this time, everything's been squashed to fit your phone screen. It's like they've taken a full-blown Mario platformer and condensed it into espresso shots of gaming. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room, the price tag. You see this game on the App Store, you download it for free, you play the first 3 levels, you're having a blast, and then Nintendo goes, Yahoo! It's like you've been given a taste of the most delicious pasta, and then just when you've twirled your fork for the next bite, they snatch the plate away. But here's the kicker, that $9.99 gets you the full meal. No extra costs, no in-app purchases, no sneaky pay $2.99 to remove ads button hiding in the corner. It's all up front. Of course, there's a catch. It's like the game is a needy pet. It requires a constant internet connection. It's all fun and games until you're on a plane or somewhere where your Wi-Fi signal fears to tread, you know, where you'd want to play a mobile game because you have no internet. Anyway, to sum it up, Mario Run is Nintendo's interesting attempt at giving us a Mario experience on the go, with some unique twists. It's a pocket-sized piece of the Mushroom Kingdom, and despite its funky quirks, it still keeps some of the Mario charm we've all come to love. And let's not forget, this game created quite the stir when it first launched. From the get-go, critics were divided. Some people loved it. They praised Nintendo for creating a unique take on a classic, making it accessible for the mobile market. But not everyone was enamored. There were those who looked at Super Mario Run and saw the face of God, and it was weeping. They thought it was nothing more than just a glorified auto runner, a pale imitation of the console games. They couldn't get over the fact that Mario just, well, ran.
Did you think he was gonna jog?
They complained about the lack of traditional controls, then there were the complaints about the price. $10 felt steep to some, considering the game's relatively short length and simplicity. And let's not forget about the internet requirement, that was probably the most universally panned aspect of this game. Despite the criticisms, Super Mario Run has managed to stick around. It's remained on the top charts of the app stores and has even seen a fair share of updates since its release. It even got nominated for Best Mobile Game at the Game Awards 2017. So it's clear that, for all its faults, there's something about Super Mario Run that resonates with players. Now, let's move on to another one of Nintendo's mobile endeavors.
Come on, give me Ike!
You'd think that Mario Kart, of all things, would be a perfect fit for mobile. Fast-paced, short races that you can pick up and play anytime. Sounds like a dream come true, right?
Wrong!
This game actually has plenty of good about it. There are new events every 2 weeks called Tours. Each tour has different cups, and each cup has 3 racetracks and a special challenge. There are those themed after characters, those themed after holidays or seasons, and some based on real-life places, like New York, Vancouver, Los Angeles, and Tokyo. The latter being where it gets its name from. You move to the next cup by finishing all the races and challenges in the current one and getting enough Grand Stars. Besides tracks from older Mario Kart games, mostly being ported over from Mario Kart 7, this one adds new tracks, some of which being based on the real-life places that the tour is named after. The game was launched with vertical mode being the only option for a display setting, with horizontal mode being added later. You tap the screen and swipe from left to right to steer the kart. Now, you can also use the gyroscope to steer. You can also jump off a cliff. Every week, one cup in the tour is special because it's a ranked cup. You're put on a leaderboard against 19 other players and your overall score decides your rank. If you're in the top 10 by the end of the week, you get a reward. If you're really close to the top, you move up a tier or two. I've got to say, the live service aspect of Mario Kart Tour is a double-edged sword. On one hand, the constant updates and new content make the game stay fresh. The introduction of new tracks based on real-world locations and classic courses from previous games adds variety, and I found the new reverse tracks and trick courses to be a decent enough new addition. Yet on the other hand, this constant influx of content means a never-ending grind. If you want to stay competitive, you gotta keep up with the weekly challenges and score as high as possible using the new trick scoring system. When you drift in this game, you start to charge up a mini turbo. Keep it up and you'll get to a super mini turbo, and then finally to an ultra mini turbo. These add points to your score for each race, along with however many points your character and vehicle have. Doing different things in the race, such as hitting people with items or going over boost pads, gets you more points, and your goal is to keep your point streak going.
Look at that score! Not too shabby if I do say so myself.
I like the new concept. It adds a new challenge to the game besides just racing against computers, which is all this game had at launch. Sometimes, if your character is the preferred one for the course, you can trigger a frenzy. This frenzy gives you 3 item slots and briefly makes you invincible, also allowing you to spam the course with whatever item you have. You have a higher chance of getting a frenzy by leveling up your character. And how do you level them up? Well... this is where the gacha system rears its ugly head. Pulling new characters and carts from the pipe using the game's secondary currency, rubies, is thrilling, yes, but it quickly becomes a necessity if you want to stay competitive. And here's where the pay-to-win model becomes apparent. It's all well and good for the whales who are willing to spend big bucks on the game, but it can leave the rest of us trailing behind. Now, there are coins in this game, and they serve up the same sort of purpose as you would expect. You can buy certain things with them, like level up tickets or characters in the daily spotlight section of the store. There's also a mode where you can race as Gold Mario and try and collect as many coins as you can. This makes the inclusion of 2 currencies, 3 with the post-launch green event coins, pretty strange. What's more, this game has an interesting strategy to keep you wanting more. With the myriad of characters available, you'd think you wouldn't want variety, but surprise surprise, specific characters favor each course differently. So if you want to max out your score, you'll often find yourself yearning for that one character you don't have, which sometimes is quite irrelevant to the course theme itself. And then there's the Gold Pass subscription, which costs $4.99 a month and gives you a couple more rewards and challenges to unlock, and 200cc races. That's right folks, you gotta pay monthly for the privilege of going fast.
I'm Sonic the Hedgehog, and I endorse this message. That was not Sonic. To be completely honest, I used to be really hooked on Mario Kart Tour. I spent easily probably around $1,000 on it, and actually unlocked Mario by buying him. I'm part of the problem, aren't I? And recently, I decided to get back into it, and I've actually been enjoying it quite a bit. Since launch, Nintendo has added plenty of things that would have gone a long way back then when the game first came out. An online multiplayer mode, battle mode, fan favorite courses, Luigi, yes, Luigi was not available at launch, auto mode, event coins, and they actually removed the pulling a pipe mechanic. You can still buy pipes and unlock them with event stars or by completing challenges, and it's far less frustrating. The game is less monetization focused, or more accurately, there's more stuff to distract from the monetization. And now that I've gotten back into it, I can't wait to continue playing it. Come on! After nearly 4 years, on September 11th, 2023, Nintendo revealed they would discontinue developing new content for the game and would instead recycle previous events and tours for the foreseeable future. This game has had 105 tours with lots of new characters and courses. It makes sense for it to be ending now, but you know it's always sad when a game's life cycle is over. To me, what stopped this game from being a bigger success, besides the extremely aggressive microtransactions, were the lack of features at launch. If Nintendo would have waited some more time, launched the game with multiplayer, some of the new features it has now, and way less extreme transactions, this could have been even bigger than it was. But I guess that's just Nintendo's new business model, releasing unfinished games, and by the time all the content is completed, no one cares. Don't get me wrong, you can still enjoy Mario Kart Tour as a free-to-play player. I certainly did for a while. The roster is extensive, though many are just variations of the same character. The gameplay is engaging, and there was a sense of accomplishment in saving up rubies for that one pipe pull. But you've got to have patience and accept that you won't always win, not unless you're willing to pay up. Mario Kart Tour has a lot of potential, it really does. It introduces some innovative ideas that I hope will be incorporated in future games of the franchise. The multiple costumes, creative stages that aren't just variants of the other, leveling up, and the trick system. However, the aggressive monetization and the gacha mechanics definitely did detract from the overall enjoyment. It's a shame, really. What could have been a fantastic mobile version of a beloved franchise feels more like a cash grab, and that's disappointing. Now, with most of the courses being in the Mario Kart 8 Booster Pass and the new content coming to an end, it's safe to say the game is pretty much obsolete for most people. Well, let's go back to the year of my birth, 2006. There hadn't been a 2D Mario game since Super Mario Advance 4 in 2003, but that was just a re-release of Super Mario Bros. 3, as was the rest of the Advance series. And in terms of a new 2D Mario, the last one we got was Super Mario Land 2 6 Golden Coins. Then, at 2004, we were introduced to this wonderful man.
My name is Reggie, I'm about kicking ass, I'm about taking names, and we're about making games.
He then announced this little chunk of plastic we would know as the Nintendo DS. Among numerous games shown at E3, one would go on to be one of the best-selling games of all time, and that game was New Super Mario Bros. Most people like to regard this as the start of the bubonic plague, and while I agree it spawned this hellspawn, it shouldn't be blamed for the creation of the rest of the series. This game was a return to form for the Mario series, which had kept expanding with 3D and spin-offs. In this game, the more things change, the more they stay the same. The foundation for New Super Mario Bros. Is, surprise, saving the princess. Bowser Jr. has snatched Peach from right under Mario's nose, and it's up to Mario to save her. Mario will have to bounce from level to level in order to reach every world's castle while collecting coins, trampling Koopas, and jumping down flagpoles. Anyone who's played the original Super Mario Bros. Will recognize the inspiration from the first 4 games. What makes this game so interesting is that it brought elements from the 3D games into the 2D ones, such as ground pounds, wall jumping, and most importantly, 3D models. This game combines 2D tile sets and 3D models. For example, Mario, Peach, Bowser Jr., Dory, Bob-ombs, Bullet Bills, Piranha Plants, Dry Bones, Womps, the bosses, and many others are 3D models, whereas Goombas, Koopas, Boos, the items, the pipes, the ground, the background, and many more are all 2D sprites. This blend of 2.5 visuals would be something this series would follow until this day. This game would also introduce some new items. You had your traditional mushrooms, fire flowers, and stars, but new to this game would be the 3 new thingies to help Mario. The blue shell, where Mario can slip into a shell while running and kill enemies. Why has this not come back? I love this thing! The mini mushroom, where Mario shrinks to the size of my pinky. With this you can walk on water, go through tiny pipes, and be 6 pixels tall. On the other hand, you'll have to ground pound enemies to kill them and die in one hit, so this feels more like a powered down. And finally, the selling point of this entire game, the Mega Mushroom. This makes Mario grow to a huge size and basically destroy the entire level. Even though it's basically an automatic win button, my god, it was satisfying. This game also experimented with a versus mode called Mario vs. Luigi. In this mode, Mario and Luigi compete on screen at the same time for a number of big stars. These stars will appear at random in the side-scrolling stages. When Mario or Luigi are hit by enemies, hit each other, stomp on each other, or are defeated, they lose a star, which can then be again collected by any of the brothers. When a brother has a certain amount of victories, he wins the match. You would need 2 DSs to play this mode, which made it a little bit clunky, but this game was everywhere, so that was no issue. New Super Mario Bros. Was a commercial success and received positive reviews. Praise was given for the improvements to the Mario formula and its faithfulness to older Mario games, while criticism was directed at the game's low difficulty level, and many critics commented how similar it was to previous games. It became the best-selling Nintendo DS game, and after selling over 30 million copies worldwide, is currently at 17th place on the list of best-selling games of all time. I wonder what 18th is. E3 2009. After a really cool image slideshow thing, this lady came on and would reveal the company's latest game. This is how the audience reacted.
New Super Mario Brothers for Wii.
This is how any sane person reacted. This was an awful presentation. This guy looks like he's being held at gunpoint.
Uh-oh. I think we've already seen one player lose a life, and that's 2. You're seeing a couple of new features here.
Do you hear the fear in his voice? Is Mario behind him holding him at gunpoint? You better not to mess this up, Bill, or we're going to have some issues. I can't look at this anymore. Reggie, come fix this.
Bowser, that long-time bad guy, really does suck.
Even in a sea of awkwardness, Reggie is still the best part. This mediocre presentation is probably what caused New Super Mario Bros. Wii to seem like just the same game on the Wii.
New Super Mario Brothers for Wii.
See, that makes it sound like it's just the DS game for the Wii. But as you've already seen, the game sold countless amount of copies. Most of them are in my room. So how about we just get into the game?
Super Mario Brothers. Wee-hee!
I love the little jingle that happens here. It's very cute. The game starts off with this wonderful title screen. The jingle starts up, the characters run on screen, the logo bounces into frame, and the nostalgia washes over you. This is such an iconic intro, it makes me feel giddy inside. We set up the game, select a new file, and get playing. Princess Peach's birthday is being celebrated by Mario, Luigi, and the birthday girl herself. Also, these 2 toads are there for some reason. Then a giant cake is moved in, and out pops the Koopalings and Bowser Jr. They throw the cake on top of the princess, which somehow doesn't kill her, and the cake is brought onto the airship. Our heroes, Mario and Luigi, as well as these 2 random toads, all pursue the airship in an attempt to save her. These 2 unimportant toads, who are unimportant because they are red, stuff Peach's presents into the cannon and fire them out in the world, which begs the question of why they got her a lot of propeller hats and penguin suits in the first place. In the first news soup, did they get her Mega and Mini mushrooms as a present? In Mario 3, did they get her Tanuki leaves and frog costumes for her birthday? Anyway, now Peach is captured and you and maybe 3 other people will have to rescue her. Speaking of people, this game introduced something big to the Mario formula. 4 players on screen at the same time. The gameplay is mostly based on its DS predecessor. In the levels, the camera pans as players move and it zooms in and out depending on their distance to one another. However, there's a limit and players who are far behind lose a life. Some people have criticized the game for this and they say levels are too openly spaced, especially when playing in single player. Okay, and? The space allows new players to learn the controls, and even if they're seasoned, it allows them more fun just jumping around. These people are acting like these levels are just empty space, when that's certainly not the case. Maybe the first couple levels, but they're kinda like the tutorial levels. Not to mention, if everything was cramped, the multiplayer would not have worked, and we might not have games like Super Mario 3D World which implement multiplayer so perfectly. This game can be controlled by 2 methods, holding the Wii Remote sideways or by using the Wii Remote and nunchuck combination. The Wii Remote works surprisingly well for this game. The D-pad translates well to the classic Mario feel, and it feels very traditional. If a player tilts the Wii Remote, certain actions can be performed, such as changing the direction of a light or tilting special platforms when they've been activated. Shaking the Wii Remote activates the spin jump, as seen in Super Mario World. Players can carry objects such as frozen enemies and barrels by holding one and shaking the Wii Remote near the object. Some people like the nunchuck combo. I'm not one of those people. When a player loses a life in multiplayer, they reappear inside a bubble. The player inside the bubble can shake the Wii Remote to bring themselves closer to the other players that can then pop their bubble. It is also possible to ride on Yoshi as well. Did you get that? In addition to the usual ability to consume most enemies, Yoshi can hold many different objects in his mouth, including hammers, fireballs, ice balls, shells, power-ups, and other players. Yoshi can also use his flutter jump, a move first introduced in Yoshi's Island. Similar to in Super Mario World, Yoshi can eat 5 apples in a course to produce an egg with a power-up or 1-up. Yoshi can't be harmed by sharp objects and enemies such as spinies and piranha plants, as long as he lands on them. Yoshi's brought to the end of the course must be abandoned, however, and therefore there are only certain levels in which players can ride Yoshis. I'll miss you, buddy. The game has 9 worlds, with a world map similar to the one in New Super DS. World 1 is the grassy plains, World 2 is the desert land, World 3 is the snowy field, World 4 is the tropical island, World 5 is the toxic jungle, World 6 is the rocky mountains, World 7 is the cloudy skies, and World 8 is the lava world with Bowser's castle. Once you finish the game, you can unlock a 9th world that takes place in space on a rainbow star, where you can play a bunch of mismatched levels. I remember when I was young, me and my dad would play this game every night, and one morning before school, I called him at work to tell him I had gotten to World 3. Still remains one of my greatest memories with him. Similar to New Super DS, there are towers, castles, warp cannons, etc. Enemies also patrol the map screen. If the enemies come in contact with players, they must play an enemy course. Players must collect 8 toad balloons to make a chest with a toad trapped in it appear. If the toad is saved, 3 super mushrooms are rewarded. Toad houses return once again, but they now feature a couple of minigames, my favorite being power-up panels. It takes place in a room with a 6x3 grid of flip panels decorated with question marks. The backside of each either has an image of a power-up, a Bowser icon, or a Bowser Jr. icon. Players must take turns climbing around the fence and punching the panels, causing them to flip and reveal their backsides. If 2 Bowser images or 2 Bowser Jr. images are matched, the game ends. If all item panels are revealed, the game ends and the characters rejoice. At the end of the game, players receive 1 item for every pair of identical panels with revealed faces. The items you obtained in the minigames are then stored in your inventory that can be accessed on the world map screen. Unlike in New Super DS and Mario World, there's no spare item box, so players can't activate items during levels. Oh, and there's also another Toad House minigame where you just shoot out of a cannon and get 1-ups. It's kinda lame. And then there's this star where you just walk in and get a star, no minigame. Even lamer. There are 77 courses in the main game, 14 of which have secret exits, bringing the total number of exits to 91. You progress from left to right completing levels until you reach the tower halfway through the world, and this is another reason why Ensemble is awesome. Not the towers, we've seen them before, it's what's inside. This was the reintroduction of the Koopalings. Even though they're seen as filler characters now, go back to when this game was new, this was a big deal. This would be their first 3D appearance, and they did a great job. After your long journey through all the wonderful levels, and 5-4, I hate you 5-4, you'll eventually reach Bowser. Well, that was anticlimactic.
Huh? No friggin' way. No friggin' way!
This was low-key the twist I needed. The final battle is incredible. The booming music is so impactful. This is such an overlooked song when talking about Mario final boss themes. The platforms constantly in your path, the lava rising up and down, and of course, Bowser, breathing fire, breaking your only floor. If you get too far ahead, he just comes out of nowhere, demolishing everything. I cannot stress how fun this boss battle is, especially with friends. I have great memories of me and my friends playing the story mode, reaching Bowser, and then all hell breaking loose. We'd be throwing each other into lava pits, stealing propeller suits, and sabotaging them by hitting the switch so they fall into the pit. Anyway, once you finally make it to the end, there's a giant button with Peach just above in the cage. In a final act of bravery, you hit the button, causing Bowser's castle to start collapsing on him. Peach offers Mario a kiss, and they hightail their way out of there. As they venture out, they see Luigi, Blue Toad, and Yellow Toad arriving in their hot air balloons. Luigi lets Mario and Peach into his balloon, and then they completely disrespect him and leave without him. Luigi was kind enough to lend you and your girlfriend his balloon, and you left without him. Thankfully, Yellow Toad and Blue Toad offer Luigi a ride in their balloon. You'll need to get yourself a friend like Blue Toad. And after the bop known as the credits theme plays, and the boys have a dance party, that's the end of the greatest game to have ever been created. New Super Mario Bros. Wii also has a couple of side modes. First off is Free For All. Free For All is a multiplayer only mode, which feels, kinda pointless. Every course from the main game is selectable in this mode, although the worlds have to be beaten once in the main game in order to play them. This mode is very similar to the main game, but there's no midway points, and on the end of the level, the number of points each character got is seen. However, unlike in Coin Battle, the character does not have a happy phrase after winning, and the number of times each player won is also not seen. So basically, you don't know if you've won or lost. Like I said, there's no real point. We also have Coin Battle, where 4 players compete in courses for the most amount of coins. That's really it, and not because it's bad or anything. It's a fun time and really showcases the game 4-player mode. It's just that's all it is, a Coin Battle mode.